Hello, fellow home theater enthusiasts. Thanks for dropping back in on the channel. Um, Today, I wanted to go ahead and do kind of a comprehensive overview of the Pioneer BDR S13U Blu-ray drive, and kind of my experiences, how I got to this point. Do I recommend one, and kind of overall maybe some discussion and thoughts of the future of ripping. And so before I kind of get into the new drive, kind of want to talk about how I got here. And so I feel like at least in recent years, many of the people that kind of have that pilgrimage to want to set up their own media server, kind of, at least for me, came from seeing Kaleidoscape just as a product. Like, how can I replicate this in my own environment with my own means? And so it led me to what many of you were already doing, which is ripping your local media and putting it on some sort of centralized storage medium. I chose a NAS. Many of you chose NASs as well. To kind of begin my foray into ripping, I acquired an LG BP50 and B40. So a little slimline drive. I think quite literally it was the cheapest entry that was UHD supported. And so that's what I went with. And so, I hooked it up. I ripped a couple movies, and I was in love from there. It was so much, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But I did notice, kind of from honestly the beginning, the first day I get it set up, that there were just a few discs in my collection that just were not ripping. Cleaning them, trying them again, not working, eventually getting some of them to work. And then so what I did from there was I reached out to the person who flashed the drive and sent it over to me. They were definitely a good recommendation. And, they told me, hey, there's a lot of shoddy discs out there. The quality of what's available on UHD, the QC is just not really there. You'll run into some bad discs even in your own collection that, of course, will play fine on a player, but when a device needs to read every single 1 and 0 on the drive and there's imperfections, it'll mess it up. So I went along, still ripping movies, still acquiring movies, but I did find situations where I had to do a lot of returns, a lot of replacements to get copies of movies that worked, and I kind of just chalked that up to the environment, the QC of kind of where physical media is at a current moment, and just kind of accepted it begrudgingly, and kind of figured, okay, well, this is exactly why people want to go for Kaleidoscape. And then what ended up happening is I had 4 movies in a row that did not rip successfully on that drive. And, I'm a numbers guy. 4 discs in a row, that seems awfully high. And so that led me to posting a Reddit post on the home theater subreddit, just asking, fellow MKV users, what's your success rate with 4K UHD? Is this something that's universal? Is this unique to me? Is it my drive? And astoundingly, in that thread, it came to the conclusion that it was definitely my drive, because people were having much more success, especially in particular people with the Pioneers. And so I believe I made a post on AVS forums. I believe I said I got to about 70 something UHD rips before it ended up dying. 79. I got to about 79 4K rips before the drive, that burst of 4. And so, I did more research. I found that Billy commented on my thread and said that he doesn't have failures in his Pioneers, which led me to kind of more of hunting on kind of the QC side of the Pioneers, and that many have much more success. And I felt, I'm already invested enough in the hobby. I've invested in redundancy for my NAS setup. Let's take it to a real level, do this the right way. And so I think about $300 and some change later, maybe a little less, I was putting together the Pioneer. And talking a little bit about that, I couldn't be more satisfied with its performance, which we'll touch on later. But ultimately, the LG drive was a trooper, but I definitely expected it to act a little longer, and it was weird because the only issues with it were with 4K. It was a perfectly fine, normal, standard Blu-ray ripping device, but that seems to be pretty common. And so later on in the video, I think we can take a little bit of time to kind of talk about where ripping is at the moment, why I think the time is now to really jump in on a Pioneer if you're serious about pursuing this hobby, and just general kind of do's and don'ts, what to look for, what to not look for, in terms of my experience and others in the community. But I do have a movie I'm trying to rip today. It is the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 Steelbook. Really solid movie. I'm really excited to give it a look on OLED as well, but you know I can't pop a player into the disc, so it's got to go on the NAS. And so let's go ahead and fire that up. I'll show you what the Pioneer looks like at the moment. All right, so we are looking at the Pioneer drive now. The enclosure I have it in is an OWC Mercury Pro, and I do like the way it looks a lot, but I don't think, depending on the Pioneer that you're able to get, I don't know if this is a good recommendation of an enclosure. I have to use one as I'm a Mac user. Don't really get that SATA access, but it's a little wiggly. It's not quite in there super snug, especially that way. So I don't recommend it. I deal with it. It looks cool to me, but want to make you aware of that. So we're going to be throwing in our copy of Sonic 3. Just kind of want to show you, just how quiet the unit can really get. I'll throw in some camera audio here as well. What we're going to go ahead and do is take our Sonic 3 disc, and we want to throw it in there. So let's go ahead and hit our eject button here. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that disc in. And now you should be seeing my Make MKV screen here as well. It's making a little noise, but it's really not too loud at all. And here you go. Cool. It has recognized that it is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. In this case, it is a Dolby Vision disc. So for me personally, if you've watched my channel, you know that I will be ripping it in a full fat BDMV format, so I can preserve all of the goodies on the disc. Importantly, that Dolby Vision, which don't currently have a way to play just yet, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. Now we are decrypting. I know this movie's a little new, but hopefully we're all good. That front. It looks like we are all set to start ripping. Seeing it's moving some playlist stuff, copying it over to the NAS. The one thing I do know about this drive is I don't believe it's as fast as that little portable guy, but it's way more consistent. I mean, there are discs in my collection that I considered essentially unrippable that this disc has thrown no issues at. So at the moment, very solid investment. And yeah, we'll follow back up once this rip is done and kind of get some visibility and some kind of closing discussions on where this hobby may end up, shorter than we see, but why I also feel like it's still going to be a good investment of our time as enthusiasts, and physical media in general seems to be on a pretty good upswing. But again, those are thoughts for later. I'll follow up with you guys when this rip is all done. All right, our rip has successfully completed. If we go to my Infuse library here, we now have 3 items under my Sonic the Hedgehog collection. I can navigate to the bottom, and now I have Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So the rip is successful, showing up in my Infuse library. Believe the total time of the rip took about 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I don't think it's as fast as the older drive. Don't really care at all. compared to the consistency, especially, but even in general, the rip time is just, it's what it is. I can watch YouTube, do laundry, do things while that happens. But it works, it plays. Won't get oh, this is the trailer. Whoopsie. Let's get back. We can play the film. Don't want to play too much, but do want to show off a little bit of just that it does play, registers as HDR, and a little bit of a OLED teaser. Loving those real black levels where, you know, the top and bottom of the screen essentially turn off and just expands to something really amazing. But yep, we have our movie playing. Again, don't really want to get a strike here, so gonna back out. But it is successful. Drive works great. Super recommend one, and you know, love the addition that makes me be able to kind of add to a crazy awesome movie library like this that stays up even if the internet goes out. And you know, right now I am still using the Apple TV as my main media player, so I'm not tapped into Dolby Vision just yet. All my movies deferred out to an HDR10. Some content about that coming in the future, but for right now, I actually am quite enjoying having one device that is kind of my central media hub, whether it's casual, you know, TV watching on YouTube TV or just YouTube, or when I really want to sit down and dig in with the movie and want to get the most performant out of my system. I like that one device does it all. If there was any way Apple would ever just allow for Dolby Vision Layer 7 and all the full layer enhancement jumbo, as well as bitstream audio, I mean, I promise you they would destroy every single media player. But I understand their reluctance to do so. And so the moment the quest for a dedicated media player lives on. But like I said, at the moment, I'm very happy with the performance I get. I definitely will likely do some shootouts between Infuse and the disc on some of these Dolby Vision movies that I have quite a lot of. But going forward, at the moment, pretty happy with what I get out of Infuse quality-wise. I'm not running Atmos in this room, so that part doesn't matter really at all. It's just the Dolby Vision that I'm missing out, which does matter now as I have ascended to OLED status. But gonna finish up some closing thoughts here in a bit. Just wanted to kind of show that the rip was successful. Alright, so I did kind of want to give a little bit of time at the end just to kind of ramble about some of the uncertainty it seems that we are headed toward, at least in terms of Pioneer drives to my knowledge. So I did kind of post my experiences with the drive on AVS forums, and Billy actually came and commented and made a post just saying about his experience selling those LG and Asus drives, and that in general they seem to really only work about a year before they start experiencing failures. And that seems to unfortunately kind of correlate with my experience with my LG drive. It was really like about a year. I'm going to say 76 Blu-rays. And so I kind of have to recommend at this point that if you are interested in this hobby, you see a need to want to kind of collect and preserve your physical media for like these purposes, I really don't think there's a better option than going with Pioneer, and specifically going with one of Billy's Pioneers. I will link to his Make MKV thread where you can look through. I'm pretty sure he literally only has one type of drive left, and supposedly it's the last drive with some firmware that can actually allow for the ripping of the 4K UHDs, and then after that he says it's apparently over. So this gives us a lot to think about, you know, and with Kaleidoscape cutting, you know, their prices in half, it makes it maybe a more solid and safe pick if the conveniences of ripping your local media are important to you. I know it's a controversial take for now, and I think I specifically spent the money I did on this Pioneer that I did to delay um, my need to invest in Kaleidoscape. Really, the only thing that was driving me up a wall about this hobby was dealing with the returns, the replaces that were apparently just a victim of my drive. I think about all the movies that I returned and couldn't necessarily get a replacement for, all because I thought the disc was bad, but it was my drive the whole time. And so, um, going forward, I mean, we just saw with Sonic, every movie I throw at it is fine, and I, am probably one of the rare few that likes hosting, an infrastructure like that. I know a lot of more tenured home theater people really just enjoy the Kaleidoscape. They enjoy the convenience. Um, that just doesn't seem to be something that's in my near future for now. It doesn't seem like 4K UHD as a format doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Um, this hobby specifically ripping media. It's a volatile hobby. All it takes is one more DRM copy protection SKU, and we're out the window until someone figures out new encryption algorithms and solutions to those problems. And so this is just one of the risks that we run. But in terms of the hardware landscape, to be able to even pull the media off the disk, it seems like options are weighing. There doesn't seem to be an absence of these LG Asus drives, and so maybe if you are someone who wants to kind of dip their toes, maybe I do say take the route that I do. Don't immediately jump for the Pioneer, but if you are currently building a media server, you actively maintain a media server, you plan to want to do it for several years to come, I think the time to grab one of the last SKUs that Billy has right now. I'll put up a picture of it. Still looks pretty good. And, excellent communication, really fast shipping. I like the guy a lot. I like that he's honest about it. And yeah, ultimately, we're going to be, continuing to maintain a media server. I'm going to continue to document and talk about what we've got going on. Additions to the theater, how we can, leverage the media, leverage the demo material to, get as close to that Kaleidoscape feel as reasonably possible with a considerable less investment. And I like getting multiple uses. There's a benefit to investing in the NAS infrastructure to host my movies. It benefits me in other ways, where Kaleidoscape not only is more expensive in the investment, but it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't serve additional purposes like setting up a NAS solution, a networking solution for content delivery. So, I'm really passionate about it. I like continuing to rip my media. I'm glad that it seems that a lot of my woes with this hobby were solved with this piece of hardware. So definitely, like I said, evaluate your needs, and like I said, reach out to Billy if you want to grab one of these drives. Thanks again for checking out the YouTube channel. Please discuss in the comments. Let me know what you're doing, what you're using to rip. How's your experience been different? Are you rocking an LG that's been kicking for years? I'd love to hear that. I'd love to, inspire hope in the community, because I think it's important that we are able to do this with our physical media and, use it as we see fit. Stitch it up, clip it up for demo purposes. And I'm having a blast doing that, trying to line mine up with some of the ones that Kaleidoscape has to offer to have some parity when people inevitably visit my theater, which, I'm sharing a little bit of sneak peek in this video, and really excited to kind of tidy up the space and get it to a presentable spot where we can talk more on the channel. We did see the OLED as well. The OLED review is in the works. Filmed a good amount of B-roll for it pretty recently, as well as haven't officially started the review, but the Buckeye has been fired up in the theater as of the first time this space was usable. The Buckeye has been powering. all 7 speakers of my Kev Q series. So all the same speakers that you've seen on the channel. The gear really isn't too much different except for, the OLED and the Buckeye and the room, but don't want to say too much after that. There's going to be a lot of more stuff coming for the channel. Hope you guys appreciate the dialogue, and have fun in your own theaters, have fun in your own spaces, and let me know if there's anything else you want to see, any discussions you want to have. Do you have a Discord link in the bottom if you guys want to kind of join and nerd out? I know there's a few home theater Discords hanging around, and you can find me in those as well. But thanks for hanging out. See you later.